Very excited now.
Next up is Cornelius Harris, who very interesting cat. Now, techno is something I personally do not know much about, okay? But I thought, and I don't know about you, Drew, you're hipper than I am, but I thought techno came from Europe. It just seemed like it did, right? I mean,
there's a club in Berlin that's a techno club. Berlin's like a hotbed. That's where that's the center of it, I think.
Yeah, right well, that's what we used to think.
24 hours on the weekends. Opens on Friday, doesn't close at all till Monday. And people go there on Friday and stay there the whole weekend and leave on Monday morning.
But little did we know that actually started in Detroit.
I didn't even know that.
I did not know that, and with some high school students, and we're gonna learn all about it now from Cornelius. How you doing, my friend?
What's up? How you doing, man? Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Educate us fools, will you please?
Well, the matter is, the music started here. A guy by the name of Rick Davis and Juan Atkins put together a group called Cybotron in '81. And that group really is what kicked it off. There was a record called Alleys of Your Mind, and that's really considered the record that started this whole movement around techno. And it was really popular in Detroit, in the clubs and with the young folks going out and doing stuff. But what happens is there's this DJ, the Electrifying Mojo. Mm-hmm. This guy, I can't say enough great things about this guy. Mojo really opened up a lot of us to a lot of different sounds and a lot of different ways of hearing music and how we appreciate it. And so Mojo really expanded people's minds sonically. He was one of those people. I heard a story about him where he was saying that he was looking at this is in the mid 70s. I want to say out in Ann Arbor, and he said that he had noticed how there were all of these white people who would be listening to Marvin Gaye and Funkadelic, and at the same time there'd be all these black people who would be listening to the Rolling Stones and Aerosmith, and he was like, "Why isn't this stuff played together?" And so he, brought these different strands of music together and played stuff in a way that really made people understand the connections between all of this stuff. So in the course of doing that, it really, I think it helped a lot of us in terms of opening up our minds and kind of laying the groundwork for folks to have this comfort level of doing something different and having somebody who was going to play it on the air and get behind it in a really serious way. So Mojo is really critical for that. He actually had done a lot of work with Prince. Actually, a lot of people don't know this, but he's actually responsible for Prince being able to continue his career. Apparently, Warner Brothers was looking to drop him.
I remember those days.
And the thing was, he got behind it and played it, and Prince really blew up in Detroit, and that allowed that. So Mojo was really had his ear to the ground. And he was somebody who got behind the music and really helped it grow. So it started in Detroit, and what ends up happening is, it's funny you mentioned Berlin. There's a club there named Trezor, and the owner, Dimitri Hegeman, was somebody who really was into the sound, and the Berlin Wall was coming down, and he was playing this music in his clubs, and he said, this is the sound that these young people in Berlin are listening to. This is what's inspiring them. And he started bringing folks from Detroit to Berlin. And so that's really how the sound ended up getting so associated with Berlin.
Wow.
So it actually started in Detroit, jumped from Detroit to Berlin, and it moved around from there. But we are the source. We're the origin.
Berlin knows how to import the music, don't they?
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Is there like a bleed into you? Because I really like EDM music. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I go to festivals and stuff. Is there a bleed in from techno to EDM? I obviously is, and a little disco bleed in, some kind of wavy line through all that.
It's funny. I always say that EDM is like I compare it to arena rock. You know, it's this broad, big, mainstream type of thing, and the thing is, people, however people come to it, it's like, hey, you know what, people, there's all these different paths that come to it, and we're like, okay, you know what, that's not really what we do, but the thing is, if that's how you discover this, and if that's how you find out about this, then hey, fantastic.
There's definitely an influence there.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's derived directly from that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. The crazy thing is, and this is the thing we talk about in Detroit, because people tend to think about music as just fun and it's parties and all this stuff, but people miss that techno, the sound that came out of Detroit globally, that's like $7.5 billion industry, and so. We say, look, this is business. There's money being made, and there's different things coming out of this. And when we talk about economic revitalization, I always like to talk about the fact that when the auto industry was having problems and the country was in a recession and there were all these issues, and people would talk about Detroit being, the murder city and all that stuff, all this negative stuff. In the midst of all of that, these guys were making a whole new style of music that would end up taking over the whole world. And I think that's something that's pretty cool and amazing about what's happened with this. So,
wow, it really is. I mean, I guess my first time I noticed something, in that area of music was a movie called Thief, a Michael Mann movie called Thief, that Tangerine Dream did the soundtrack,
Oh, wow.
And that was the first time I heard that type of, rhythmic, kind of just setting up a mood. I mean, the soundtrack of that movie is a huge part of it, because it's not a lot of dialogue. It's fantastic. One of my favorite movies. James Caan starred in it, and like I think the first 15 or 20 minutes of the movie, there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
He's a thief, breaking into a big safe, high-powered equipment, and it's just nothing but that Tangerine Dream, music. And it was the first time I was like, man, this something new is going on here. So I think they're also out of Berlin, I believe. So
yeah, in EDM and rock and roll, there's all the different styles of. You know what I mean? So there's like heavy metal, and then you got your Skrillex, then you got all these guys from Norway that are doing different kind of dancey EDM music, or just like really heavy, like heavy metal kind of times. What's the styles of techno music that you pay attention to, or that are out there and popular or happening?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, Detroit, again, being the home of techno, there's all these different sounds that come out of Detroit, and because that's where I work and what I work in, I mean, I follow a lot of that. So, you look at the people who are really looked at as the guys who started it, Juan Atkins, Derek May, Kevin Saunderson, Eddie Fowlkes, all of those guys have done some really incredible things. There's a label that I work with, Underground Resistance, and UR is really a pioneering label in terms of a few different styles of music. So there's a minimal sound. There's a style techno called Minimo that comes out of UR. You've got this style called high-tech jazz, which is kind of a merging of electronic music and jazz. Because, we always say, a lot of people forget that jazz music was dance music. That's what people were listening to in the clubs. When you were going out to party, jazz was it. And so, we look at this electronic music as being this extension of jazz and all these other styles of music as well. So there's that. There's some electro, which is a different type of sound that comes out. So we kind of deal with a lot of different styles, and I love it all. I really do love it all. I am very fortunate to be able to work with all of these folks doing all this great stuff.
Yeah, once you like music, you like music. Yeah,
that's it. It's all good.
We actually have a little tape of the museum, right? You did a little. You gave us a little tour of the museum.
There was one. I don't know if we have it.
Yeah, we got it.
We have it.
Yep, cool.
Well, my name is Cornelius Harris. I'm the label manager for Underground Resistance, and one of the tour guides for Exhibit 3000. The NSC was a hip hop group that came out It was produced by James Yancey, known today as Jay Dilla. That was his first vinyl record that came out through Submerge. And then Robert Hood from Underground Resistance. He was one of the pioneers of the minimal sound. So then we have the DJs. Derek May, Juan Atkins, Eddie Fowlkes, Kevin Saunderson. These are the guys who really kicked it off. In particular, people call Juan Atkins the godfather of techno. With his label Metroplex, really spread the sound to a larger audience. The first group that he was actually with was called Cybotron. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It was him and Rick Davis. The two of those guys went and put out the record Alleys of Your Mind, which became known as the first techno record.
So that was a little bit of what we call Exhibit 3000. And Exhibit 3000 is actually really the world's only techno museum. And we've got it right here in Detroit. It goes over a lot of the history, a lot of different aspects of the music and the people who make the music and how the music gets made. We talk about the equipment and the art and all of these different things that go into putting this stuff out. So we've got that. In addition, what we're doing is we're prepping another piece of it that focuses on Detroit house music. And house music is a style of music that came out of Chicago, but Chicago and Detroit are like sister cities. And so what happens in Chicago comes to Detroit, and what happens in Detroit goes to Chicago. And so we all kind of put this stuff together, and so we've got this style of music derived from Chicago music as well. We're going to do some stuff around that too. So definitely, I always recommend people whenever they're in Detroit. We get a lot of people come through and check out the museum, and you guys should too.
Yeah, I will. It's great when hip cities are close to each other, driving distance, isn't it?
That's right. That's right.
Is that related to the record label, the Underground Resistance record label, or a separate entity, or the museum?
Well, I'll tell you the key I'll tell you the person that ties all this stuff together is a guy by the name of Mike Banks. And Mike Banks is the founder of Underground Resistance, a co-founder of Underground Resistance, actually, along with a guy by the name of Jeff Mills, who is actually a radio DJ. And Jeff has gone on to become this icon. He's one of the top DJs on the planet. He actually was awarded the Order of Arts and Letters by France. So France basically stole him from Detroit. And all of the best musicians end up in France. How does that work? But Mike is the one who really did this. He initiated it. There's a couple of other folks who really kind of took a hold of the idea behind the museum and really built it up. This woman, Bridget Banks, who actually does the distribution for a company called Submerge, which actually gets the music out, and Carla Vecchiola, who is a professor. And the two of them really put together this exhibit and build it up. So they're really the ones that should get some credit for that. But yes, it's all connected. It's all connected. We're all a convoluted family of folks. One of the things that we do in our building as well is we kind of have mentorship. So what happens is up and coming producers and musicians will rent out space within our building. And it's a way for people to get creative, but then also since they're around other musicians and other creative people, there's a lot of bleed over. So someone might be working on something and they're like, man, I need a saxophone. And so they run down the hallway and they're like, hey, could you jump in on this? And folks, some really cool collaborations come out of that. So that's the other piece of it too. Mike acts as a mentor for a lot of up and coming creatives. And it's the idea, I think, is in part to contribute to this legacy of Detroit's musical history and to be able to help continue that so that it's not something where we're like, hey, cool, great, we're having all this fun and it's all for us. It's like, no, what can we do to give back and do more? And to that end, actually, and this is what's so cool about TeachRock and seeing what TeachRock is doing, is that we're working on a program. At the time, we're calling it Underground University, but the idea is that it's a sort of educational program whereby people can come and learn about music and production and things like that, but also learn some of the history behind some of this music as well. And we're partnering up with a few different companies to help facilitate this, and that'll probably be kicking off probably in 2021. Of course, with COVID, we can't have people over like we wanted, and so we're adapting. We're adapting.
Well, that's great.
We're all adapting.
We'll see.
Definitely hook up with our people, and you can definitely add to our curriculum. I'll tell you that. That'll be great. Absolutely great. And
so great chatting with you, man.
Man.
It blows my mind that 4 high school kids started this whole genre of music.
Hey, it's that's where that's where it always starts though. It's always young folks.
Yeah,
young people who take that initiative, who are looking for something different and wanting to have something that's theirs. And that's how it always happens. So it's great that we're part of this, and I'm actually even more excited about what's going to come next. So
yeah, good.
Cool, man.
I can do the grandparent. I can do the grandparents now. You better get your degree.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, I might be remembering this wrong, but I did a radio break on Detroit once, and I seem to remember wasn't it founded by a Frenchman? Isn't Detroit actually a French name? Am I remembering that right?
Is.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's the connection, right? See, some things stay connected.